remember that right now we are in an everything bubble. That's stocks, bonds, real estate, almost everything is sky high prices, and then we're going to assume that the Fed's going to print a lot of money, we're going to get MMT, and in the future we're going to have a lot of inflation. So we've got to first try to look for what's cheap, and only thing cheap right now in the United States is 30-year fixed rate debt. So that's going to make us money with inflation. And how do we express that bet? That's starter homes. I like the Midwest or the South. You can buy them under the cost of construction, really good neighborhoods. That's going to limit your downside, and it's going to give you some really good cash flow. Step number 2 for investing for a recession. I suggest considering buying real estate with some extra land. Now we're focusing on the cash flow component or the cash flow principle. So some examples of this, maybe you buy a house and it's on an acre, maybe it's on 10 acres. And the whole point here is we're looking for additional opportunities for cash flow. Maybe that's farming. And again, this might not be applicable to anyone. You can see me out there farming, that ain't gonna work. But this is definitely an option. Events, I had a buddy down in Texas outside of San Antonio that had a few extra acres by a river and he turned it into a wedding event space. He made a lot of money, about $20,000 a month from that. An Airstream, I love this idea. I actually own a couple of Airstreams myself, and a friend of mine bought a few acres up near the Grand Canyon and he put 10 Airstreams up there and he rents them out for $200 a night on Airbnb. Using that same concept, tree houses, sounds crazy, but they're really popular nowadays on Airbnb. Or a tiny house. You could build that on some extra property that you have. Timber, or maybe flowers, timber like Christmas trees, maybe you could grow that, sell those. Maybe lumber wood up in Oregon, they still use a lot of firewood. Flowers, this came to mind when I was down in Ecuador. I almost bought a property that was about 40 acres, and they only monetized one of those acres. They had all these nets, and in those nets they grew these flowers that they sold at the local town. They made about $50,000 a year doing that. You raise animals, selling eggs, milk. Self-storage or outdoor storage. This is an idea I really love. Right now I've got a couple items in storage up in Arizona in the United States, and I pay about $300 a month just for a 50-foot kind of slip right there. And it's all outdoor. It's just open spaces, gravel. Really neat idea. And of course, self-storage, you could put up some units on your property. It might not be as big as a U-Haul facility, but you might have some extra room and sell that storage space. Maybe you don't have enough money to buy real estate with extra land right now to use as that cash flow. But don't worry, I've got another idea for you. So keep an open mind for this one. All right, editor, give me a quick drum roll. RV rental. This is piggybacking on the Airstream idea, the Airbnb Airstream. A buddy of mine in California bought a $30,000, $40,000 RV, and he's actually renting it out on a brand new site that's just like Airbnb. So you've got your RV, it's sitting in your driveway, collecting dust, doing nothing. Now they have a site just like Airbnb, where you can put up your RV, someone rents it for a week, they drive to your house, leave their car, pick up your RV, you show them how to use it, they take it for a week, they pay you $100, $200 a day, they bring it back, you're good to go. You're buying an asset that's going to maintain its value if you can buy that at a good price, but you're also cash flowing it. And in a recession with this baby boomer population, they're not going to be able to afford to buy their own RV, but we've got this glut of people that are retiring right now. It could be a great opportunity for you to go out there and provide something to them that they can no longer buy, but they can still rent. We got a bonus for those of you who are a little more advanced and in the stock market. You could consider a pairs trade. So what this is where you take on a short position with your long position to hedge in case the stock market goes down. You're still going to make money. This bad stock would go down further than the good stock that you have, netting you a profit. So in my opinion, you get a good dividend paying stock with great fundamentals. You go long on that, and then you short a stock that's hype, that has no profit and needs cheap money to survive. So when money gets tight, when the credit market freezes, they are in trouble. Cough, Uber, and Tesla. Step number 3 for investing in a recession. And remember guys, make sure you stay to the end of the video because I'm going to share with you exactly what I'm doing right now to invest. But step number 3 is diversify. We want to diversify our political and currency risk. That is my third principle. So how do we do that? First, get a passport, for heaven's sakes. A lot of Americans don't even have a passport. And if that is you, go down to your local office tomorrow and make sure you start that process. Get a darn passport. And then once you do, start to travel. Instead of taking a vacation in Florida or Montana or wherever you typically go, just take a vacation down to South America or maybe over to Eastern Europe or something like that. Just get out there and see what parts of the world that you actually like. All right, next is offshore bank accounts. So once you decide on an area that you like, maybe it would be wise to get an offshore bank account. So you take some of your cash, some of your money, and put it in another jurisdiction. You can probably get a lot higher interest rate, and you can diversify some of that currency risk as well. Taking it a step further, we can get some real estate outside of the United States. And we've got gold, and this really isn't an investment, but it's a currency hedge, and it's an insurance policy. Depending on the individual, I like to see 5 to 10% of the portfolio in gold. And then we've got a bonus over here for those who are a little more sophisticated, a little bit more advanced, and that's getting an additional passport. So you not only have a United States passport, but the US allows dual citizenship. So maybe you have an additional passport in a country in South America or maybe in Europe. And then we've got dividend stocks, and I like to see dividend stocks in emerging markets. If you go into other markets like the United States, you're running into the exact same problem with negative interest rates and the everything bubble. So if you can get some cheap stocks over there that give you a good cash flow, if you're a little bit more advanced, that's something you might want to look into. Bonus! How am I investing for a recession? Well, of course, I'm focusing on my investment principles. First, I've got rentals in the Midwest. That probably doesn't come as a big surprise for most of you who watch a lot of my videos. In 2015, I started to invest in Colombia. I came here originally because oil was cheap. It was down below $30 a barrel, but I have no idea how to invest in oil. And I knew that the peso was roughly tied to oil. So the peso was incredibly cheap as well. So how do you express that trade? How do you express that bet? Well, for me, a real estate guy, what made most sense is to buy cheap real estate that cash flowed, that was denominated in the currency that was tied to the cheap oil. That's exactly what I did. I came into this market here in Medellin and I found that it was extremely inefficient, so I could get property really, really cheap at a massive discount to retail, go in, remodel it, which allows me to build a lot of equity. And something that I'm doing that's way outside of the box, I guarantee you, you've never thought of this. And this is to diversify my currency risk and as a store of value. I'll go ahead and tell you because you're never, ever, ever going to guess. What I do is I buy old trucks. That's right, diesel trucks, 95 to 2002 Fords. I've got a few of them stored up. I get them low miles at a good deal, and I just keep them stored in Arizona. And those things will never lose purchasing power, that is for sure. So I don't know if you're a truck guy or a truck gal, but if not, this is a great way to diversify your currency risk and buy something that's a real store of value. Things that I'm thinking about are investing in the gold miners. Gold's how to run. It's not necessarily really cheap, but I do like that insurance policy, and this is kind of a leverage insurance policy. Venezuela, very close to Venezuela, so like to do some crisis investing. Definitely a lot of stuff that's cheap there, looking at real estate. Emerging market stocks, going back to this crisis investing concept. I've made quite a bit of money investing in Cyprus when they had their big crash, and Greece did the exact same thing. I was not invested in Greece, but I'm looking at Lebanon right now for the exact same reasons. And I am also in the process of getting my second passport in Colombia to diversify my political risk even further. One of my favorite investments, regardless of whether or not we're going into a recession, is always house hacking. For more information on that, check out this content right here, and I will see you on the next video.